Good evening. My name is Sarah Ford. I am a star director, and my team is warming up with the Believers. I have a group of around 375, and I have two frontline directors and two second gen and a third gen in directors. So I hope that you guys will all say hi. I'm going to just kind of talk about some things that are business related, of course. I am really bad about touching my hair. So if I play with my hair or touch my hair, just try to ignore it. I'm just really bad. It's like a habit that I have. I just touch my hair like that all the time. Because I get on camera and I'm like, oh, this isn't perfect, or this looks bad, or whatever. So, I'll try it. So first gen, second gen, and third gen director. What that means is that a first gen director means that my frontline, so the people who I've personally sponsored, so someone signs up to sell under me, that is my first gen director. Someone who signs up under another person who becomes a director, they are their first gen director and they become my second gen, and so on and so forth. So that means they're like second or third in the line. And then first gen means that they're my front line. So I'll kind of tell you a little bit about myself so that you know who I am. I started selling SCENTSY in August of 2012. I was getting married in March of 2013, and I just wanted to make like $800 so that I could pay for our plane tickets for our flight. We were kind of in the middle of Dave Ramsey, which I feel like we never ever finished. But we still kind of are doing Dave Ramsey's plan, I guess. But we wanted to have a debt-free wedding. And so I needed a little bit extra. I was still paying off some debt, and I just wanted to make a little bit of extra money so that I could afford these plane tickets to California. So I joined SCENTSY. So a lot of things have happened in the last 7 years since I joined SCENTSY, and a lot of things have changed with SCENTSY. There are millions and millions of things that I could tell you that are so much better, and that we just keep growing, and my business isn't stopped or fallen short or anything of that nature. Hi, Jennifer. So I wanted to share a little bit today about excuses a little bit. I am the queen of excuse making. I can make an excuse out of anything. I don't need an excuse. So growing up, I always had some anxiety and probably some ADD. Well, definitely some ADD. And I feel like everyone says that now. And I get kind of frustrated when people say that, because I'm like, you don't have any clue what that's like. When I graduated from college and started to, hang out with more therapists because I was working in mental health, we defined it kind of as anxiety-induced ADD. So decisions are really hard for me because I have so much anxiety, and then I can't focus. And so all throughout my life, I kind of dealt with this thing that I had that I didn't know that I had. And I didn't even wasn't really planning on talking about this, but here we are. So I just kind of dealt with it and didn't really know. I knew that like something wasn't quite the same or normal, if that's what you want to call it. But I just kept doing life, and while some things were more challenging, I had a perspective that some people don't get to have. So, when I got to college, I had a really hard time because college was so much more intense than high school or whatever. And so, long story short, it was a really challenging time for me. I eventually graduated from college and went on to work and got a job at a residential center with children who had some developmental delays, mostly developmental delays, but some had a lot of behavioral problems. Most of them had behavioral problems. They really couldn't find foster homes. So, I mean, I'm talking about things that really aren't all that important. But then I moved for my husband, and I got a job at a mental health center. I started working with children who had some behavioral issues and who needed some help with some life skills and coaching and things like that. So I was working there when I joined SCENTSY, and I was not in love with my job. I was good at it. I felt like I was good at it. I learned a lot. I improved a lot after I started selling SCENTSY in my job, in my career. I just did better. And I would attribute that to SCENTSY improving my self-confidence. And when we look at excuses and specifically procrastination, what we see is that behind that is something else. And most of the time, Mel Robbins, she talks about this all the time, but that most of the time, the thing that's behind our procrastination is fear. And as I was preparing to do this video, I was going to the restroom, and our toilet is like the worst toilet you've ever seen in your life. Yeah, get real. Oh my gosh. So real. Nothing gets more real than toilets, right? We just moved to this house like 4 months ago, and I absolutely love it. This is the perfect home for us. It suits us. It fits our needs. It's got room to improve in our own time, but it has everything that we need. But the only problem is that our toilets suck. Like, they suck. Like, they don't flush very well. Even if you just go number one, like, the toilets don't flush very well. So I was in there thinking about this video, and I was thinking about procrastination. I was thinking, why am I procrastinating? Like, why am I procrastinating buying a new toilet? Because toilets are not that expensive, right? Like, toilets are like $100, and then you can do it yourself. Not me. I can't. But that's not my strength, and I know it. But you can do it yourself, and or you can just hire somebody to do it for pretty cheap, right? So probably $300, and both of our toilets can be replaced. Why haven't I done it? And it goes back to, like, well, I would really like to put new flooring in our bathroom. And so if I get a new toilet, then that kind of messes it up, and then you have to take it, unseal it, and then reseal it. And then what if we end up redoing our kitchen? Then we could have just tacked it on with all of that stuff and saved a little bit more money. Or, that's going to be such a pain. And when are we going to do it? And I don't want to have strange people in my house when my husband's at work. And it doesn't, like, constant, right? These are the thoughts that cross my mind. And so I'm thinking procrastination, the fear of the hassle, the expense, the what if this goes wrong, the what if that goes wrong. That fear is what's keeping me from doing what I need. Sorry, guys, it's like a super annoying, like, pimple or whatever. That is like what's keeping me. So procrastination, there's always something behind the procrastination that is keeping us from doing what we know we need to do. And after this video, I'm going to tell my husband that we need to replace those toilets. So anyways, hi, Akila. So where was I? Okay, so I started doing SCENTSY, and I was working at this job, and I decided I was ready to move on. This job was not leading me down the path that I wanted to go. I wasn't able to get people to listen to me. No one would listen to me. And like, they would ask my opinion, but they didn't really care. I didn't feel like my kids were getting what they needed. I didn't feel like I could give it to them. Their parents were feeling frustration. So anyways, so what I noticed was I had the confidence after I started selling SCENTSY to go to a new job and to say, I am awesome. I can do things. I am worthy of a new job. I'm not just a piece of trash. Or, I mean, I probably never thought that I was a piece of trash, but like, I definitely struggled with feeling good enough or expert enough, or like my opinion really mattered. And so I found a new job, and there were several interviews, and they gave me the job, and I did really well, like really well. Anyway, so after I left my job, I found out that I had won an award for my previous job. In the entire state of Indiana, I was the number one, what we called them was, I can't even remember what it was called right now. What's it called? I can't remember what it's called. But basically, I did case management for children who had some mental health issues. And some of those mental health issues were from, anyways, that's neither here nor there. The point is that I was so good at my job that I won an award for every single person who was nominated in the entire state. But because I wasn't valued, because people didn't listen to me, and because I didn't believe in myself, I allowed myself to stay in a position where I doubted myself. And you can win an award and still not even know that you are doing something amazing. So I moved on to this new job, and I'm telling you, like, I kicked butt. Like, I was so good at my job. So I worked at a school, and I worked with children, and I dealt with behavioral issues. And again, I wasn't listened to. And because of rules and guidelines and all this other stuff, I didn't have a voice. And maybe I shouldn't say I wasn't listened to, but I didn't have a voice like I wanted to have. And my boss gave me lists of things to do, and bam, 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 I would get them done. Which, if we go back to the beginning of our conversation, like somebody who has some attention issues, like, I thrived with those lists. So I could have made excuses. I could have said, I can't do this job because I don't have a lot of focus. I can't do this job because nobody wants to listen to me. I can't do this job because there are too many regulations and too many guidelines. No, I accommodated. I changed the sail, like the wind in my sails. I moved a different direction. And so I had to be what I needed to be, where I needed to be at, right? If that makes sense. This is kind of like, I'm kind of pulling this, whatever. So anyways, so anytime that I procrastinated at my job, there was a reason, right? Like I was talking about, like procrastination. There's always a reason behind why we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing. So at that particular job, there were reasons. You know, I was afraid of getting in trouble, or I was afraid that I wouldn't do something right, or I was afraid that someone would be frustrated with me, or I was afraid that somebody would call the admin building because I didn't do what they thought I should do. And so I procrastinated things. And so I would have to say, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm doing right now. and don't interrupt me, or don't do this or whatever. And I had to make it happen, and I had to suck it up, and I had to get it over with, because what I found was when I sucked it up and I got it over with, it was so much better in the end, and the result was always like way better. So anyways, so fast forward a couple of years, and I realized that my time was more valuable than somebody else telling me what to do, and somebody else telling me when and how and what, right? So I got pregnant. I found out I was pregnant the day after I quit my job. And then before I left my job, I found out that I had a miscarriage. And that was really freaking hard. And since then, I have learned that so many people deal with that. And so I'm so sorry if you have dealt with that. I'm so sorry that that's something that people deal with, because it sucks and it's really hard. And you have two choices in that moment when you just quit your job. You just lost what you thought was going to be your future. And you have to look inside of yourself. And if you are like me, I am a person of faith. So I believe in God, and I believe that God has purpose for us. And I believe that God goes before us. And so I knew that there was purpose, and not that God caused that to happen, but God allowed for me to have suffering to bring something greater, along. So I'm trying to gather my thoughts for a second. So I quit my job. I lost my baby. I was in the midst of this fall, like a fall, and some things with my business were kind of crazy, but good. Like I was doing well enough that I quit my job, and I could stay home, and I supplemented by substitute teaching, because with substitute teaching, you can make your own schedule, and every day is different, and you have direct contact with kids, and you get to do all the things that you want to, whatever. So this is really long. I did not intend for this. Sorry, Akila. I hope that that's okay. So anyways, so in a moment where I could have made excuses, or I could have procrastinated, I decided that I was going to make things better. And I was already a director, but I was not a star director. And I had some circumstances within my business and some of the things that were happening. And I had just had an experience with some of my team. And I realized that SCENTSY was not just this side thing. And it took me a few years to get there. But what I want you to understand is that it didn't happen overnight. But if I had believed in myself and stopped procrastinating and stopped making excuses for myself, and thinking that I wasn't good enough, and thinking that nobody wanted to buy from me, and thinking that I was pushing people, and thinking that I was doing the wrong things. I don't really remember what I was thinking, but I wasn't working at my fullest potential. I recognized that when I started working at home, I thought that I was going to kill it, because I killed it at my jobs. I killed it with my boss that gave me lists all the time. So I thought, well, if I just make lists and I'm just super intentional every day about all the things that I have to do, then I'll do them, and I'll do really well, and whatever. Well, it started to become excuses, like if I had a better office, if I was more organized, if I didn't have these attention issues, if I, could take this medicine, or I could do this, if this, then that, right? But really what it was about self-discipline and belief. If I were disciplined enough in my business and in my daily goals and in my life, and I was balanced, and this is still, this is still pretty true for me too. Like I still make excuses and I still sometimes get frustrated. But here's the thing, and I see this with my team and it frustrates me, is that we make excuses and then we wonder why we're not doing well. Well, duh. Like, you're making excuses. You're not working. You're not trying. Why are you making excuses and then asking yourself why you're not doing well? You can't just expect for things to fall in your lap. You can't just expect that you're going to have a thriving business if you don't ever plant any seeds. People are in this mindset of, I have to have things and I have to have them now. For instance, I went to Best Buy a few weeks ago to see if they had any iPhones because the Apple Store was out like every single time that I checked. I have a 2-year-old, so I can't just go and check and then be there for hours if they do happen to have one. So there's no way. I can't have my 2-year-old sitting with me at the Apple Store for hours at a time. It's not gonna happen. So I went to the Apple Store and I was like, okay, well, this is what I want. And they didn't have it. They had a different color, but they didn't have the smaller memory. They only had the biggest size memory. Well, instant gratification. So I bought the most expensive phone that I possibly could in the color that I didn't even really want because I wanted it and I wanted it then. I don't regret that decision. And that was not like that big of a deal, but the problem is we want things to happen now because we are so used to it. You can have your groceries delivered. And honestly, I'm guilty of this, thinking, well, I would love to have them delivered, but it's in 2 hours is not fast enough. I need them now. I want them now, even though in 2 hours, I'll still probably be thinking about going to the grocery store. But we are in that frame of mind. Like, I want this now. I want these sales now. I need it now. I have to have this recruit promote right now. But we're not thinking about the longevity of our business. Like, you have to start doing things and implementing things and putting things into place as you're working. It just is, it goes back to when I'm flushing my toilet. If I want that to change, I have to make that change. If I don't want to struggle with that anymore, I have to do something about it. And that is something that we forget. We think that somebody is going to come in while we're asleep and just change out our toilets and we're never going to know and it's just going to be done and whatever. But that's not how life works, is it? Life does not work that way. Things do not get changed or fixed. It's like being on a diet. I'm so terrible about being on a diet. And I'm going back and forth because SCENTSY just sent out the SCENTSY Wellness video, the SCENTSY Wellness email, and they are talking about making a healthy change. And one of the things that they're talking about is cutting out a sugary drink from your daily activities. And so I'm going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth about giving up pop and soda or whatever you want to call it. I love Coke and it is so not good for me, but I love it. It's refreshing. It's got bubbles. It tastes so delicious. So I do not want to give it up. But if I can do it for 1 month, then that tells me that I can make other changes 1 month at a time. And it so goes with your business. Like, if you can make a change this week, and then you can make a change next week, and then you can make a change the week after that, think about what you can do in a 6-month period. There are people who join SCENTSY who promote in 6 months. I have a girl on my team who joined in August and promoted to superstar consultant in September. September, y'all. 1 month later. Because She has it in her mind that she wants to do this, 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 and this. And so she does it. It's not going to happen that way for everyone. But the possibility is there. It's not like, not to say she's not special. Everyone is special in their own way. But she did something that most people are not willing to do. She worked really hard. And she shared something she loves, and she set a goal, and she's following her goal. She's putting action into place to be able to hit her goals. And that's the difference between somebody who doesn't succeed in their goals and somebody who does. So April Nyman did a video a couple of days ago that I watched, and I absolutely loved it. And she said, if you're not trying, then, or if you give up, then you're failing. And it just has stuck into my brain. Like, if you're not trying, or if you don't try, or you give up, if you give up, then you failed, basically. Like, if you just say, I'm done and I can't do this, you're giving up, and then you're failing because you just gave up for no reason. It was pointless for you to give up. Like, it's so silly to give up. Like, and I say to people, like, even if you make your $100 back, basically everything else is extra. It's just a bonus. And why wouldn't you want a bonus? If you can sell another $500 in the next 3 days, you can make an extra $125 on your check in November, which would go to Christmas. Why would you not do that? Why would you not try to do that? Why wouldn't you want to reach your goals and contribute to your family or whatever? And people can say, like, oh, I don't have time. Well, you do have time because you're scrolling through your Facebook, or you're on your chat, or you're going out to bars on Saturday night. If you're going out to bars on Saturday night, you better be taking your SCENTSY with you, and you better be taking orders from all those drunk people at the bar. I'm not saying take advantage of people who are in a inebriated state. I shouldn't say that. But what I am saying is you should be working your business all the time. So to say that you don't have time is not true, because we all have time. And it's just a matter of what we want to spend it doing. It's not that hard to work SCENTSY. There have been months where I've done, and maybe I shouldn't say this, but there have been months where I've not tried very hard at all, and I just focused on getting my 500, and I made money. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how easy. So basically, what I want you to understand is that no matter your story, no matter where you've been, if you believe in yourself and you take some action steps, you can achieve what you want to achieve. It's not so far out of reach that you can't do it. You have to focus and you have to put it into place. And I'm not just talking about in September and October and November, because those are our busiest months of the year. I am talking about in January, following up with the people that ordered in November. In January, following up with the people that ordered in October and saying to them, hey, I know that Christmas is over and you must be so tired, but wouldn't it be nice to take a bath in some amazing fragrance with some Epsom salt? That would be so relaxing. You've been so busy and you deserve it. Wouldn't it be amazing if there was a product that could help with all that dry skin, because the air is so dry and, I get little like patches of dry skin? Wouldn't it be awesome if there was a product out there that you could sell to people who are dry because it's dry? There are always going to be things that you can sell. There are always going to be people who need more money. There are always going to be people who want to help you reach your goals. Always. It's your job to find those people. It's your job to ask those people. If you are not willing to find those people and ask those people, then maybe this isn't for you. But if you want to reach your goals, then maybe you need to start changing your mindset, and maybe you need to start thinking, okay, if I want to reach this goal, then I need to do this. Pull up your workstation and pull up the action plan and message your sponsor and say, hey, Sarah Ford told me I need to do my action plan, but I want to do it with you because you're my sponsor and I think that you have a lot to contribute to me. When do you think we could do this? Do you think we could do this in the next week? Do you think we can have a 20-30 minute phone conversation? Because it is so important. Yeah, so like Akila says, she works her business while she's watching Netflix. That's how she watches TV and movies, and she still kills it. And that's the truth. Straight killing it. So if you want this and you want to make it happen, you absolutely can do it. I can't necessarily work while I watch TV because I get too distracted, but I can go into a room and close the door and have my husband watch my kid. If you are a single parent and you don't have that option, you have friends or you have parents or you have a babysitter, I promise you that there are people who want to help you. But you have to sometimes go outside of your limits. Like even today I was talking to some moms about like just needing some time to be able to get some things done, to go to an appointment or go to the store or run your errands or whatever. Find other people who can be in your village who can help you. And I mean healthy people. I don't mean just anybody who's willing to help. I mean healthy people who are in very stable places in their lives. Because you want to make sure that you put your kids in good situations. That's just the social worker in me coming out. But that's something that I want you to consider. There are always options. So stop giving yourself an excuse and start making it happen. Hope you guys have an awesome night. Thank you for listening to me go on and on and on. You guys can do it. Believe in yourself and talk to your sponsor or your director or find somebody else who can help you.